What's going on, everyone? So LeBron James and Anthony Davis are basically on their own this year. The Lakers didn't make any trades at the trade deadline, which was very unfortunate. Rob Pelinka put it, can't buy a house when it's not for sale. So that signals that there just wasn't anything that made sense. And I mean, if you look at the trade deadline, there were no real significant pieces that were moved. And like I was even saying in live streams yesterday and various videos, like look at the deals that were made. Look how some of the deals were structured and tell me how the Lakers would have been able to do those deals. It didn't make sense. So I wanted the Lakers to do something. I wanted the Lakers to make some type of trade. I am a little surprised they didn't do anything, but I understand it. I get it. You know, when there's, like I always say, the one in the hand is worth two in the bush, but when there's nothing in the hand, you might as well go explore the bush. And that's kind of how I look at it. In the offseason, that's kind of their hope. Like, let's go kind of explore what's out there. But nonetheless, the Lakers are said to be aggressive come this buyout market. Now, there are several very significant players that I actually do think can make real impacts on this Lakers team. I did a whole video on Spencer Dinwiddie. Go check that out. He's the guy that I think would make the most impact, starting level player. Everyone else is kind of just bench role players, but real rotation players. A couple guys that may be able to start, but there's two guys that I want to talk about in particular in this video, and that is two guys that could provide some real shooting for the Lakers. Now, when you're talking LeBron James specifically, LeBron James with shooting usually leads to success. Right? It's kind of been a thing throughout the history of his career. You put LeBron James on the court and a bunch of shooters around him, and you're going to have some success. And right now, the Lakers, their only real shooting is Taurean Prince and D'Angelo Russell. Austin Reeves is like extremely hot and cold at times. And then outside of that, it's like Rui occasionally can hit a three. The Lakers are just a really bad three-point shooting team. But there are a couple pieces out on the market that I do think make a ton of sense, that I do think the Lakers could get. Now, there is a guy in Daniel House who would make a lot of sense for the Lakers too. I'm not including him on this list just because I think personally he would go elsewhere, where I think like the veteran guys are the guys that are more likely to come to the Lakers. But we will see. Time will tell. But let's dive into the two guys that I want to talk about, starting with Seth Curry. Now, like I mentioned, these are two guys that I don't want or expect to play significant role, especially Seth. And primarily because Seth is just so undersized. He's a big defensive liability. You're talking a 6'1", he can't defend me, let alone actual NBA players, which is a bit of a problem. But beyond that, he is a guy that can shoot the lights out and has had some very successful seasons shooting the lights out. You look at Dallas this season, he played a very limited role. He played 36 games, started 3 of them, averaged 12.7 minutes per game, so basically 13 minutes per game. Shot 36.3% from three-point range, which is good considering the spot that the Lakers are in. It's not what he has been over the course of his career, but he also only took 2.2 attempts per game in a limited role and averaged 4 points. This is a guy for his career is averaging 43% from three-point range on 4.2 attempts. Now, if you look at last season with the Brooklyn Nets, in which he played 20 minutes per game, you look at that I think is a better sample size, where he shot 40.5% on 4 attempts and averaged 9 points. That is what I would be hoping for the Lakers to get. Can you give him, 15 minutes a game, 12 to 15 minutes a game, and get him somewhere around the 4 to maybe 5 attempts per game and hope that he can knock down 2 or 3 of them a game? You look at the previous year in 2021-2022 with Brooklyn, he shot 6.5 attempts per game and shot 46.8% from 3. So he was making 3.1 a game and averaged 15 points. If the Lakers could get something like that, that would be great. But again, he's not a guy that I want the Lakers to bring in and play 20 to 30 minutes a game. To me, he's a guy that you throw like him out there, Torian Prince, D'Lo, LeBron, and you just kind of spread the floor and just kind of do this like run and gun and just try to like put a bunch of points on the board. Right? Defensively, you'd be tough, but maybe you throw like a Jared Vanderbilt out there, right? So you go like D'Lo, Seth, Prince, Vando, and LeBron, and just kind of do this like run and gun offense with 3-point shooting. Again, you can't do that against everybody, but some of these teams you can, that especially have like smaller size with Vando and LeBron out there, or you could just go with AD if you wanted to. But I was just thinking kind of like you'll see the Lakers like to run some of these sets where it's just kind of they spread the floor, push the pace, and try to get open looks from 3-point range. They just don't have the shooting to do so. But if you got a guy like Seth Curry, I think that now you have a guy that you could add to like a D'Lo and Prince, and maybe it would work. Obviously, if it's not working, which is a concern with Darvin Ham, is that he really likes to stick to stuff that doesn't tend to work. But if it does work, great. If it doesn't work, then, make those adjustments. But the point is just to have a guy that you could go to on the bench and just throw into a game. You could even kind of slot him in as like an initiator, right? So run a unit where you have like Seth and then like maybe Prince, Vando, LeBron, and AD, and Seth is just kind of the initiator, but LeBron is really the point guard, and you're just getting Seth these like open looks off of like screen actions and stuff. I wouldn't hate something like that, and kind of have like the defenders around him, and see what he could do, or even just if he's on and he's hot, you could even maybe go with like a Cam Reddish and just really go in defensively, have LeBron, AD, and Seth as like your just line shooter. But again, not somebody that I'm like super sold on. I just, the Lakers could use shooting, and he's a guy that I think could absolutely provide that. But the guy I want more than anything, compared to the two, is Joe Harris. Go get me Joe Harris. Because you're talking about a guy that, one, has familiarity with LeBron James, but he's also 6'6", and basically could play like a Torian Prince role. And he is a guy that is known to just shoot the lights out. He had a very limited role with the Detroit Pistons in 16 games. He only averaged 11 minutes per game. So he wasn't getting a ton of attempts at all. He was only averaging 1.9 attempts per game. But if you look at the previous year with Brooklyn, he was averaging 4.5 3-point attempts per game and shooting 43% from 3-point range. He averaged 7.6 points. That'd be perfect, right? If you could just get a guy that could come in, shoot 43% and give us 2 to 3 threes a game. It's all the Lakers really need in just like a limited role, limited minutes. He is a guy that for his career is averaging almost 44% from 3-point range, 43.6 to be exact, on 4.7 attempts. So it's not one of those guys where, you see some guys and it's like, oh man, he has a career 3-point percentage of like 44%. And it's like, oh, but he only takes like 0.8 threes a game or, something like that. No, this is a guy that actually has volume and has had some really good shooting years. If you look at the previous year, 2021, 2022, he shot 47%, 46.6 to be exact, on 6.3 attempts. And then in 2020, 2021, on 6.4 attempts, shot 47.5%. If we could get that, that'd be great. If he could come in and give you like 10 points a game on like pretty much all threes, that would be huge. And again, you could run sets like I was mentioning earlier. But the difference is he's 6'6", so you could kind of get away with a little bit. Again, not really a great defender, not a guy that's going to be locking people down, but you could run him in Torian Prince, and you got two, 6'6", 6'7" guys out there alongside LeBron. Maybe go Jared Vanderbilt and Anthony Davis for like defensive purposes, and just kind of let LeBron run the point and have just spread the floor with these two guys as shooters. That's kind of my thought process when it comes to Joe Harris. I like the idea of Joe Harris more than I like the idea of Seth Curry. Primarily just the size and just the consistency that he's provided, right? Seth can be a lot more of a liability, which is kind of why he's floated around his whole career. I mean, look, Joe Harris has floated around a lot too. Like, so I'm not saying like, oh, he's a guy that's stuck around, but he for the most part has played basically just Cleveland and Brooklyn, right? Pretty much his entire career. Detroit, he played just this season, but he basically from 2016 to 2022 was a Brooklyn net, and then 2014, 2015 with the Cleveland Cavaliers. So he hasn't, he's, I guess, floated a little bit, depending on, what your definition is of that, of course. But if you look at somebody like Seth Curry, I mean, the guy's played for pretty much everybody but the Lakers at this stage. He's been on numerous teams. He's been on Memphis, Cleveland, Phoenix, Sacramento, Dallas, Portland, Philadelphia, Brooklyn. Has had a couple stints with Dallas. So this is a guy that I just think Joe Harris is shown over his career to be one of the premier three-point shooters, veteran, smart. He's not going to go above and beyond his boundaries, and I just think is a guy that could really add just some solid just shooting to a team that desperately needs some solid shooting, and especially, again, around LeBron James and Anthony Davis, you can't really have too much shooting. These are definitely things that you need. But regardless, either of these guys, both of these guys, I'm all for whichever, right? The thing is that, so like the Lakers only have one open roster spot, which I think is going to go to Spencer Dinwiddie, right? I do. I could be wrong. It's just a guess. But even if they do get Spencer Dinwiddie, I would still like to at least go get Joe Harris, right? Obviously, again, we could use a backup center, which Robin Lopez is available now, but I don't know. I think if you get that shooting, that would be massive, right? Like, one of our big problems is offense. If we can, and especially three-point shooting, we're towards the bottom in that regard. The question is like, who do you waive for Joe Harris? If I had to guess, it's probably Christian Wood, just because I just think, one, the Lakers don't really seem too keen on him, and he doesn't play and have the opportunity that I think he should. I also don't think he's utilized the way that he needs to be. But also, they were trying to just kind of give him away at the trade deadline, or it sounded like based on reports. We don't know this for certain, but if that's true, then I could see them going okay, let's waive Christian Wood, sign Spencer Dinwiddie, and then bring in Joe Harris for three-point shooting. And now you got your Spencer Dinwiddie is a guy that I think can start at your 2, and then have Joe Harris with Taurean Prince off the bench as just guys that can come in and just light it up and give you several threes a game and just be constant threats out there. You could even go and put them alongside Spencer Dinwiddie and D'Lo and stuff like that, especially if Dinwiddie could get back up to 40%. He's a guy that has shot 40% from three-point range before. If you get that, then now you have him, Joe Harris, D'Lo, Prince, all guys that could shoot 40% from three. Lakers need that, and they need it badly. Seth Curry is kind of my least favorite, but he is a guy that's kind of to me, he'd be kind of you miss out on Joe Harris, go get Seth. And yes, even though he's undersized, he still gives you a consistent three-point shooter that the Lakers really need. And again, you're talking about guys that would be vet minimums, right? So they're just so low risk, high reward. Worst case scenario, they don't work out. Let's say you do get Seth Curry, and he's just not it. You just waive him, you let him go, and you bring in somebody else, and you try somebody else, right? Maybe then you bring in a center or something, right? But what if he comes in and he's great, and he's giving you 3 or 4 threes a game, and he's shooting 44% from three-point range? Then it's this was a great decision. Same thing with Joe Harris, right? Joe Harris, you bring him in, if he gets hurt or just doesn't work out the way you want him to, just waive him, and it doesn't really hurt you. It's, such low risk, high reward. But what if he comes in and he hits 3 or 4 threes a game, and he's averaging 12 points, and he gives you that consistent go-to shooter, out there alongside D'Lo and LeBron and Prince and all these other guys? what do you have? If you're the Lakers, what do you have to lose at this point? Is my is my biggest argument. Like, what do the Lakers are not very good. They're drowning and hanging on by a thread. They're still a play-in team. They're still the ninth seed. They basically been the ninth seed a large majority of the season, and so I don't see that just magically changing unless something crazy happens. Where, like I said, you go get a Spencer Dinwiddie and Joe Harris, and it's just two guys. Like, Spencer Dinwiddie gets back to being like Dallas's Spencer Dinwiddie, shooting 40% from three and giving you like 17 a game. And then you get Joe Harris, and he's, Brooklyn Joe Harris, and he's shooting, hitting 3 or 4 threes a game. And it's like, oh, we just added, 30 points in offense on $4 million in salary. It's kind of your hope, right? Swing for the fences and hope you hit it out of the park, right? It's kind of my thoughts. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion, so I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Do you love the idea of Joe Harris, Seth Curry? Do you want both? Do you want just one? However you feel, whatever your thoughts are, I'd love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.